should be a good show because I'm going to cook you on Southgate. Your agenda is disgusting.
We've got a lot to speak. There's a few things to talk about on here. We've got about an hour and a half. I've got parents' evening tonight, so I do have to shoot for that. But yeah, you want to call me out? Yeah, I mean, I'll set the press. I want Southgate sacked. I've heard you want to cook me on it. Go for it. I'd love to hear. Why should I not want him sacked? Go for it.
Okay, statistics.
Why do you back Southgate?
Well, I don't. I'm just calling out the agenda. Yeah, I don't think he's good enough. Yeah, but the same as I don't think Arteta's good enough. But if it's Arteta, it's an agenda. But if it's Southgate, who sees the players 4 times a year, has got us to a World Cup semi, a Euros final, and a World Cup quarters in the last 3 tournaments, unbeaten in this campaign, conceded 4 goals in 8 games, 22 goals scored, literally dead rubber last night. It was irrelevant in that game. Yeah, and yes, the pool of players he can pick looks great, but you support Man United. Yeah, you've got pretty much untold amounts of money that you can go and spend on a pool of players, more so than just English ones. So I don't really get the issue. Like if you're Ten Hag out or Arteta out, if you're Ten Hag in or Arteta in, you should be Southgate in. Yeah, because let's be real, Southgate's had the job 7 years. We're in a much better state now than when he first got the job with Sven, Capello, Steve McLaren. Who was the other one? Big Sam for 1 game. Yeah, we're in a much better state now, more competitive now than we were when he got the job. Yeah, and like I said, statistically, this guy's won more games in tournament football than any other manager in our history. He's the first manager to get us to a final in a major tournament since Alf Ramsey in '66. He's then got us to a semi-final of a World Cup and the quarters of a World Cup. I don't see the 8. I don't see the issue here. You either want, I want Arteta out, so I want Southgate out. But the hypocrisy is crazy. Yeah, and I just look at it and I think cool. Yeah, we're not great to watch. And what? And what? If we end up winning something, nobody cares. Yeah, when the Euros comes around in the summer, we could be boring all the way through it. If we win it, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Yeah, so it's all good playing great football and fantasy football. Well done. Yeah, we won 7-0 against Macedonia a couple of months ago. Last night, 1-0. But we'd already qualified. We'd already topped the group. It's irrelevant. Dead rubber.
Yeah. So what I would say, firstly, we both agree on Southgate that he isn't good enough. So we firstly, I'm being challenged for my opinion on Southgate, not because you disagree with my opinion on Southgate. You don't want to know why it marries up to Arteta. I'll say this. First of all, I thanked him for what he's done for us at tournaments. So I agree with you on that point. He's done a good job in those tournaments, but I still feel him as a manager in those tournaments, the decisions that he's made, the time of substitutions and our approach to particular games in the end cost us. And I think we have enough evidence to know that, in my opinion, that it isn't going to get any better from there, in my personal opinion. We are in a better position, and I said that last night as well. I think that after everything that went on with Sam Allardyce and the problems we had with Roy Hodgson, I think we've improved. I think there's more of a togetherness now, and I think it is the right time for a better quality of manager. In my eyes, we should go out and try and find ourselves someone that is considered top class to world class to come in and take us to the next level. The only way, though, there would be hypocrisy, in my opinion, was if I felt that Arteta and Southgate were one on the same level, which I don't. I think that Arteta has got the ability to be a much better manager than him. And if I said everything about them was identical, but then wanted one to stay and one to be sacked, then I could understand being called a hypocrite. But I view Southgate and I view Arteta in very different ways. Therefore, my opinion on them is going to differ. I also, by the way, respect, as I've always said before, I respect the fact that you don't think Arteta is ever going to be good enough to get you to the very top. And that element of your opinion on Arteta, I've never actually challenged at all. That element, that you can't challenge that element of someone's opinion because it is what it is. And only time's going to tell whether they were right or they were wrong about it, as an example. And I think for me, the boring football, some people are saying that now I want style over substance. It's not what I've asked for. I said how bad the football is, for me, is foreshadowing for us falling short again. So I want someone to come in and make us better than what we have right now. And equally, on bringing it back to Arsenal around the hypocrisy bit, I have said if Arteta fails this year, my energy is identical to what I'm saying for Southgate. I believe that Arteta and your club have built a much stronger squad and foundation than I've seen you have in a long time. You're behaving in the right way as a football club in terms of the amount of money you've spent, renewing the contracts of your better performing players. But if you get to the end of this year and the manager fails, then I do think you should look towards moving him on and bringing somebody in who's doing a better job. I feel the same about Southgate. I think Southgate's taken us as far as he can. I don't quite know if I don't think Arteta is quite there yet. The end of this season, I think, will give us a better idea. So I don't see that my energy is overly different, but I do believe that Arteta's got a higher ceiling than Gareth Southgate in terms of what he could become as a manager. So yeah, look, we agree on Southgate. I don't think he's good enough. I don't have a particular agenda other than the fact that I think we could waste a tournament by having him as our coach. Which I suppose you would understand because you think you're wasting your season having Arteta as your coach. So
yeah, I think that's why I have the same energy for both of them. Yeah, because I don't think Arteta's a better manager. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. He's a better manager than Southgate. But you can't be bigging up Arteta and then criticizing Southgate. It makes no sense. And it's like people that say, "Oh,
it does."
It
makes sense. It makes sense. It makes sense because for me personally, if I think Arteta's better, therefore my treatment of them is both different. That makes it fair. If I think they're both the same level of manager,
what makes you think he's better? I think he's a better manager, by the way. But what makes you think that he deserves to carry on and Southgate don't?
So when I say deserves to carry on, we've got to categorize this. So firstly, I do think that Arsenal typically over the last 2 years play a better brand of football than England do. So stylistically, I think there's a better brand of football. I think with Arteta, because he is so fresh to this game, and I know he's doing an okay job at Arsenal in certain areas, I still think he would have been better off taking other jobs and building himself up before taking, in some respects, and going to an Arsenal, because he's learning on the job and he's going to make mistakes. But the way he plays football, the way he conducts himself, I don't even mind the way he comes across and the way he says things. I think there is potentially a top class manager in there. However, as I just said 2 minutes ago, if he this season comes fourth, nowhere near a title race, falls out of all the cup competitions, then I do think a serious conversation has to be had around, well, actually, look, he is still only a fledgling manager. He's helped to get us to a certain point. He's got us to a stage where we've got a really good squad of players. Could a world-class manager now come in and make us champions again, Champions League winners? So my energy is exactly the same towards both of them in terms of when I believe, and I can only go when I believe because it's my opinion. When I believe Arteta's gone as far as he can, I'll have the same energy, and I still believe you've got to wait till at least the end of this season before I personally look at Arteta as a manager and say whether I think he should stay or go. So that's why I do think it's different.
Based on the last 3 major tournaments for England, then you wouldn't give Southgate this tournament after he's got to a quarters, a final, and a semi. That makes no sense. Because Arteta, in comparison, I know it's very hard to compare international football to league football, but Arteta's won nothing for 4 years. Yeah, Gareth Southgate's won nothing in 7. Gareth Southgate's managed less games in totality than Arteta has in totality at Arsenal because they play less games for international. I think he's managed 89 games. I think he's the second most successful manager in terms of win percentage and all of that. Yeah, major tournament wins and stuff. Yeah, in fact, he's got us to a final, a semi, and a quarter. In comparison, Arteta has won 1 cup 4 years ago and won nothing ever since. So when you're saying that, the style of football's better, and what? Still didn't win anything. And you're saying if he finishes 4th and gets knocked out the cups, then you'd say he has to go because we weren't in a title race. So basically what you're saying is you hold Arteta to a different standard because number one, you think he's better, which is cool, right? But if you don't win anything, it's still cool. Whereas with Southgate, the football's crap, so straight away you're on the defensive and, get rid of him.
So when it comes to Southgate, the football being poor is me believing that the way we've played in the last 2 games and multiple other times in the last 7 years is the reason why, part of the reason we won't get over the line. Southgate's decision-making in those big games, leaving Harry Kane on when he was exhausted, when Rashford and Sancho in the final, bringing them on to not touch the ball and then making them take penalties. They should have got the extra time, could have won the game. Rashford was on fire at the World Cup, bringing him on for the last 3 minutes against France when we needed a goal was instead of Sterling. So the decision-making that he's done, the style of football, and I believe he's come to the end of his tether. Again, the energy is different because at this stage, it's different because Arteta did have you in a title race last year. And I believe, looking at the points where you are now, you'll be in a title race again this year. But if he fails to get you at the very least into a title race and close to winning the league and you regress and wins no other trophies, then my energy will be exactly the same as it is for Gareth Southgate, that his job needs to be scrutinized. And of course, it's very hard to compare international managers, as you say, to club managers. It's a very different set of scenarios. But again, it's impossible to treat every manager the same, because your personal feeling about them, your preference, your view on how good or bad they are is different. The better the manager you believe they are, the more leeway you give them, the more support you'd give them. And, a manager like Pep, because he's the greatest in the world right now, if he goes for a bad run of form, nobody really will blink an eyelid. Somebody is seen as a trash manager and they lose 2 or 3 games on the bounce. I told you it was crap. You're never going to keep the same energy.
No, but you've just said, based off of the last 2 games and a few decisions he's made for England with the penalties and Rashford and stuff like that. So we could do that for every single manager. Yeah, I could talk about when we went to Old Trafford and played a stupidly high line and got battered. I could talk about when we went to Everton.
I know you can, Lee. Let me just stop you for a second. I know you can, but that's because you see it one way. I'm only a hypocrite if
This is straight facts, right?
No, I understand you, but what I'm talking about is your opinion of a manager. I'm not suggesting that Arteta has not made mistakes, but when you judge an international manager, the mistakes are far more acute because it is fewer games. The real time you're focusing on them is in knockout competitions, where one mistake you're out and then see you again in 4 years' time. It's a very different situation. I'm not suggesting for one singular moment that Arteta hasn't made mistakes. If I said I'm supporting Arteta because he hasn't made mistakes and I want Gareth Southgate out because he has, that would make me a hypocrite. But those words have never left my mouth in any way, shape, or form. I do believe that Arteta has made mistakes, and I have criticized him on many a match review since he's been your manager, especially in the first 2.5 years. The difference being is this: I don't think he's at the end of his time at Arsenal. I still think he's got the chance of winning you some major silverware. I respect the fact that you don't agree with that, and that's fine. But when it comes to Southgate, I don't believe he's going to win us any major silverware. So I can't treat them both the same if I feel about them and believe in them in different ways.
So what you're saying? No, I get that. So it's more about your feelings, than it is about facts. Yeah, because if you go from our last 3 major tournaments,
about my opinion,
we have got to a World Cup final. A World Cup semi-final. We have got to a Euros final,
yes,
and we've got to a World Cup quarter-final. So based off of factual information, there's nothing to suggest that we're not great and we don't have a chance to win it, even with this manager. Yeah, with Arteta, one title race has got everyone giddy, and because we're sat 3rd in the league this season. Yeah, let's just brush away the rest of it then, yeah? Because if that's what we're doing with Southgate and we're taking
that's not what that isn't what I'm doing with Southgate.
Well, I appreciate his track record in the last 3 major tournaments when he's got better squad of players to pick from now. Yeah, better players to pick, better pool of players, more decent, more technical footballers now than what he had when he first took over the job. Obviously, the performances have got better.
So Lee, but you agree with me that you don't think Southgate's good enough to win us a World Cup?
Highlighting the hypocrisy, because
there is no hypocrisy. There isn't hypocrisy. There can only be hypocrisy if I state that Arteta and Southgate are the same level as manager. They both make the same mistakes. I both think they're at the end of the road. I think they're both X, both Y, both Z, but then want a different conclusion for both of them. I view them as different managers, and I have a different opinion. Lee, let me finish. I have a difference of opinion on both of them. It's not hypocrisy.
Well, it is, because you're saying that Southgate's gone stale. Your tweet last night was Southgate's gone stale.
And I do think he's gone stale. Okay, I do think he's gone stale. I think I think Gareth Southgate's gone stale based on the style of football we're seeing, the last 2 games. Not just those games, a number of games during the qualifying campaign.
Sorry, we've scored 22 goals in 8 games.
Bro, let me finish speaking. Even before the last World Cup, I was talking about him. I think he needs to go. So 18 months ago, when we were getting battered up in the Nations League, I was talking about I think he needs to go, and I think he's come to the end of his time. We went to the World Cup, good in the group stages, got up to the France level, and he made poor decisions in that game that let us down. My feelings towards Gareth Southgate are not based on 2 games at the end of a qualifying campaign. It's been 18 months that I believe he has taken us as far as he can go. And so far, the proof's in the pudding, because we went from a semi-final to a final. And since I've been saying that I think it's time for us to go, we then got to a quarterfinal, which is regression within a tournament. The football has got worse. And we've dropped down levels when it comes to the Nation League. We're in a much lower position now than when we started. So over an 18,
scores the penalty, we're still in the World Cup, wouldn't we?
Oh yeah, but he didn't score his penalty.
No, so how's that the manager's fault that one of the best strikers on the planet misses a penalty?
So it's the manager's fault that he didn't make other changes in that game. He could have
No,
brought Marcus
I'm talking about the penalty. If he scores the penalty, we'll probably win the game.
Right, okay.
Yeah, so how is it his fault that one of the best strikers, if not the best striker in the world, spanks a penalty into space? How's that his fault?
So I don't blame the penalty miss on the manager.
No, but you're saying that quarterfinal is regression compared to a final in the previous tournament.
Lee, but this is where hypocrisy is coming from. Lee, the only hypocrite here is you, because you're calling, because you don't believe, you agree with me on my opinion on Gareth Southgate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm just highlighting the fact that we've got
there's no hypocrisy.
A Euro,
hang on a minute.
Harry Kane spanks the penalty into oblivion.
But there's no hypocrisy. Because
there is.
No, there isn't. Because if Arteta was in a game today to win the league title and Saka skies a penalty, I wouldn't blame Arteta for that penalty being missed. The same as I'm not blaming Southgate for his penalty being missed. There's zero hypocrisy. The only time there's hypocrisy is if I call out Southgate for something that I wouldn't call Arteta out for, or I wouldn't call Ten Hag out for. And you haven't given one example of something I'm stating towards. No, you haven't. You haven't.
England looks scary. Yeah?
England looks scary.
They're unbeaten in the tournament qualifiers. Yeah. They've qualified with
you don't agree with that.
No,
you don't agree with it.
But this is the stuff
you don't think we're good enough. Nor do I. How am I hypocrite?
Let me talk. Right?
How am I hypocrite?
You're saying that all of these things about Arteta, Arsenal just got scarier. Yeah. Arteta agenda exposed. Yeah. Arsenal theory is growing.
Yes.
Yeah. Arsenal sensational and unbeaten. Well, England was sensational and unbeaten. They scored 22 goals and conceded 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've qualified. Yeah. Not only that, like I said, we've done all right in that World Cup. Unfortunately, Harry Kane missed a penalty. Yeah. Right. And furthermore, it was against the current world champions. Yeah, the best team on the planet.
You said we did all right, but I thought football was just about winning.
That's like Arsenal missing a penalty against Man City.
I thought it was just about winning, though, Lee.
No, it is about winning. Just what I'm calling out.
So why are you disagreeing with me?
But I'm not. Just let me finish and you'll understand. When you're sitting there, so if it's all about winning, why is it scary when Arsenal do it, but stale when Southgate does it?
Because my opinions of the direction we're going in with Southgate at England is different from my opinion to what I think Arteta is doing with Arsenal. It's not hypocrisy. It's a difference of opinion. It's not.
It
Hang
is.
On, Lee, let me just say something. Lee. No, Lee, it's different. I've already explained that. My point is this. If you have a difference of opinion of what Liverpool are going to do this season with Klopp versus what City are going to do with Pep, that's not a hypocritical opinion. That's a difference of opinion.
No, you're totally changing the subject now because we're talking about opinions on what could happen. No. Wait, you just said if you have a difference of opinion on City and Pep and Klopp or whatever, but that's based on what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. Based on what's happened, factual information.
No, that's not what you do.
There's nothing to suggest, that Southgate is doing anything other than what he should be doing.
Okay, so based on that,
nothing to suggest that Arteta is going to be great.
Okay, so that's fine. So I don't want to hear you criticize Arteta anymore. You can't criticize him anymore. Hang on a minute, Lee. But this is the hypocrisy here. You're stating that I can't have the opinion I have on Southgate because we have no idea of knowing whether he'll foul or not in the future. So why do you criticize?
No, that's not what I said.
What did you mean by that then?
If you let me talk, I said your opinion on Southgate is based on your feeling towards Southgate based off of the last couple of games and a few decisions in tournaments, which is understandable. Cool. Yeah. Well, hold on. He sees the players 4 times a year, mate. Yeah, not only that, the amount of players that pull out of these friendly games. Yeah, now you've got Arsenal with Arteta doing 650 million. They don't just have to buy English players; they can buy any player in the country or the world, right? So the difference is he sees his players every single day in training, can spend what he wants within reason. Right. This guy has got a pool of English players to pick from. Half of them pull out every single time there's a friendly. Okay. Yeah, and he's got a track record of getting to a final, a semi, and a quarter in the last 3 tournaments. So he's rubbish. He's gone stale for getting to a semi-final, a final, and the quarters. But this guy who's won nothing for 4 years, who can buy whatever players he wants within reason, sees his players every day, trains them every day in, day out. He's great because he got in a title race last season. Right. Make it make sense, mate. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Okay, so what you're getting, I understand that you don't agree with my opinion on Arteta. That doesn't make it hypocritical. That's not what being a hypocrite is. Hypocritical is the wrong word. We have a difference of opinion. I still think you're progressing under Arteta, and I still think you can win a major trophy. You disagree with that. You want Arteta out. We both agree with each other that Southgate isn't good enough to win England a major tournament. We both agree on that. we both have different views on who the best player in the world is, right?
Messi all day long.
No, the best Premier League player ever. We both have disagreements on that, right?
Yeah, Bergkamp.
And I think it's either Ronaldo or Henry. But that's not me being a hypocrite, because I don't think that Bergkamp's the best ever player. It's a difference of opinion. My view on Arteta is different to yours. That doesn't make me a hypocrite, because I'm not having... You think Arteta's gone stale and isn't going to go any further, but I don't. So you're holding my...
I don't think he's gone stale. I think he's took us to a level that we can't go past. The same as Southgate. Cool.
Yes,
but that's why I have the same energy for both of them.
No, but yes, exactly.
You have the same factual information.
You have the same energy on both, because that's what you think. Me not agreeing with your opinion on Arteta doesn't make me a hypocrite.
No, it's what I think, Terry, based on factual information.
What factual
information? This guy can't get us over the line, and neither can Southgate. Yeah, but you're saying that he's gone stale and he's he could be great.
I think Arteta can still get you over the line, yeah.
Yeah, well, on that basis, you should still think Southgate can, based on the last three major tournaments.
So again, life don't work like that, Lee. No, it doesn't work like that. So what you're saying in its nth degree, at the end of your logic, is I have to think the same things about all managers, all teams, all players.
No. I base it. This show is called Straight Facts. Yeah, straight facts. Arsenal have not won nothing for nearly 4 years since this manager first got the job. Straight facts. Yeah, that's a factual piece of information. Yeah, factual piece of information as well is Gareth Southgate has managed less than 90 games for England and has got us to in the last 3 tournaments, a semi, a final, and a quarter. There's nothing to suggest that he ain't going to be there or thereabouts again this season. The same as nothing to suggest that Arteta won't be. Yeah, because we're up there at the minute. So what's the difference?
My belief in both managers is different. My view on both of them is different.
So that's my point.
That's not hypocritical. That's an opinion.
It's not hypocritical. Well, it is, because you can't hold Arteta to a different standard. Yeah,
I can if I think he's a better manager. I think he's a better manager.
Yeah, I think that Ancelotti and Simeone are great managers. Yeah, I think they're better than, say, I don't know, Jose, for example.
Right.
Yeah, but other people are saying, no, it's Jose. Okay, cool. Put the medals on the table then. Yeah, put your track record on the table. The track record for both of these managers in question, Southgate and Arteta, it's not great, is it? So there's not much of a muchness. I have the same energy based on
I cannot have the same energy towards two teams, 2 managers, 2 players that I think differently about. The only way it would be the same is if I'm criticized, I don't think, if I said Arteta's gone stale, but I think you should keep him, then you've got me. But I haven't said that. So there's no hypocrisy, none whatsoever.
So you're basing Arteta being in a title race last season and us being third in the table, 1 point off top now. Yeah. So that's based on the last 18 months of football, which is what you said about Southgate. The last 18 months you've fallen out and said, no, I want him gone. But in the last 18 months, what's Southgate done? Exactly the same as Arteta, mate. Nothing.
No, he hasn't.
Here he has nothing. They've both done nothing,
and that's fair for you to have that opinion, Lee.
No, it's factual information. You can't argue with facts.
But it's not factual information, because not everybody. Lee, because I want to move on to the next subject. I want to end it by just saying this: not everybody views football your way, and I'll give you an example. You believe every 19 teams this season will be looked at as pure losers in the Premier League, right?
Yeah, 1 winner, 19 losers.
Yes, and lots of football fans will disagree with you on that. That is not based. That is, and you can call that a fact, but I think it's
factual information.
No, again, it is. Again, people don't view it. It's an opinion. Not everybody.
Metric for success is winning something.
Yes, okay,
so
and that's fair enough.
My opinion is irrelevant.
At the same time, Lee, let me finish the point, because I want to move on. From my point of view, not everybody believes that all 19 teams should be looked at as pure, unadulterated losers. The same as you don't think Arteta has done anything in the last 18 months, where a lot of football fans would say you've progressed to a level now where you're at least challenging for these titles. You're in and around that race. So everybody will view these things differently and have differences of opinions. That doesn't make them a hypocrite. Only if they hold a different opinion for one than they do as another. But I'm explaining why I have a difference. If they can't explain their differences, then maybe you can call them a hypocrite. But I think one manager is better than the other.
The predefined metric for winning, for success, which is winning a trophy. Yeah, that's been there from day dot, mate. That's why trophies and medals were in sport in
at the same time. But you can't. Again, we're not going to get into this row again. We've done it so many times. No. Lee, it's not about being cooked. I don't feel like I'm being cooked because I stand by what I've said. I don't believe. I don't. Lee. Let me finish the sentence because I do need to move on to the next subjects. My point of view is this.
We could talk about this all day. Come on.
No, we can't because we've got other subjects. We've got other subjects to get onto. My point of view is very much. I don't think you could if Luton finished 15th in the Premier League this year, the size of the club they are, the income they have, I don't think you can look at them as pure unadulterated losers. They fouled, they had a bad season, where you do, and that's absolutely fine that you have a difference of opinion to me.
22 million in the summer out of the 300 million they got for getting promoted.
Yeah, and that's what was required. And mate, I just want to agree to disagree on that one. Listen.